Okay, the first packet we're going to do is just kind of a repeat of what you're did yesterday. You got to solve the inequalities. So you have some number x that if you take 6 away from it, subtract 6, it's got to wind up being greater than or equal to -2. So like for example, x could be 10 because 10 minus 6 is 4 and that's greater than -2, but 100 minus 6 would be 94 and that's greater than -2 too. So it's like a bunch of possible numbers. So I got to find out where that cutoff point is. What's the critical number on the number line? Where does it start and which direction does it go? So I put a 1 in front of the x. I dot it. And then circle it. We need to be using the dots and circles here. So outside here, I've got a -6. So I'm going to add 6, get rid of it, and then add 6 to that side. Now take that sign and drop it straight down. You want to get in the habit of that. So I've got 1 dot x, and then -2 plus 6 is 4. Okay? Now, if the dot number's a 1, I can just forget about it. Okay? So that's correct. Okay? I need the x and then the number 4, and then that's my answer. So my critical number is 4. We circle. Now, is the bar there? Yeah, the bar is there, so we want to fill that in. And if you get confused which direction to go, that looks like somebody's nose. The nose is pointing this way. So therefore, that's the way the graph goes, because it's a greater than sign. Okay, my next problem. 10 is less than x plus 19. I put a 1 in front of the x. I dot it. I circle it. And I'm looking at this side. Plus 19. I need to minus 19. Gets it out of there. And then with the 10. Now drop that sign down. On this side, 10 minus 19 is -9, and I've got 1 dot x. Okay, if my dot number's a 1, we can disregard it. Okay, so I know my critical number's 9, but this is incorrect. Okay, so I need to reorder it. I need to put the x first, and then the -9, and then I switch that sign to go the opposite. Okay, and this is what I graph. Nothing before it, right here. Okay, so the critical number I had was -9. Put a circle above it. Now, is the bar there? No, it's not. So don't fill in the circle. Greater than, the nose points that way, so it's anything greater than -9, but not equal to -9, so we don't fill that in. Okay, next problem. -3 is greater than x minus 4. So I put a 1, dot the x, circle it. And I want to look at this side. So what's outside the circle? A 4 is being subtracted. So I need to add 4 to cancel that. Add 4 here. Now drop your sign straight down. Now over here is where I do my math. -3 plus 4 is 1. And over here I got 1 dot x. Okay, so if the dot number's a 1, you can get rid of it. So the number I'm going to put on this line is +1, but this is incorrect order. Okay, the variable comes first and then the numbers, so we got to switch the sign. Okay, so x is less than 1. So 1's a critical number. Now, some of you expressed to me, I wasn't doing a very good job explaining where the circle's filled in. Now, we don't have the bar, okay, so it will stay empty. And that looks like a nose. The nose points that way, okay. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, the next one, x minus 5 is greater than or equal to -7. So I dot my x, put a 1 in front of it, and that's the side I need to isolate. So I have a -5, so I plus 5, and I add 5 to the negative 7. So I drop the sign down, and I've got 1 dot x over here. And then negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. Again, we have a 1 as the dot. You can take that away. And this is correct, okay? The x comes before the negative 2 in this. X, negative 2, exactly how I want it, okay? Now I need to graph my solution, okay? I ended up with 2. Circle. Now is the bar there? Sure it is, so fill it in. And that looks like a nose, okay? It's pointed that way, so it goes this way. Okay, my next problem, x plus 16 is greater than or equal to negative 14. So again, here's the only x I have. And on today, you're only going to have one and a single x right there. Okay. Okay, so I'm here, I had minus 16, and I'm minus 16. So 1 dot x. So negative 14 minus 16 is negative 30, okay? So I take the 1 out of there with the dot, and that's correct. The x comes first, then the number. So I'm fine with graphing that. I can graph that. Okay, so the critical number is negative 30. So I circle it. It's equal, so I can fill it in. And then and you have the bar. The bar's there, so that's why I filled it in. And the nose points that way. So that means any number greater than negative 30 works, okay? Okay, negative 6 is less than or equal to x minus 7. So I put the 1 in front. I dot it. So over here, minus 7. So I'd add 7. Then I add 7 to the number over here. You don't add 6 because it's not on the same side as the x. Negative 6 plus 7 is positive 1, and I got 1 dot x. Okay, if the dotted number's a 1, only if it's a 1, you can scribble it out, which on this packet they are. That's going to change in the next packet. Okay, that is incorrect. So since the ordering there is incorrect, I put the x, the 1, and then that sign needs to turn. So this is what I'm graphing. Okay, the critical number's positive 1, circle. Is the bar there? Yep, fill it in. And it's like a nose, it's pointing to the right, so that's what we have. 1 or any number greater than 1. Okay, x plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 4, so I dot the 1, circle it. Subtract 3, subtract 3. 1 dot x. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. We can take the 1 off. As long as it's a 1, you can take the dot off it. Okay, that is correct order because the x always has to come before the number because that tells me how to graph it. Okay, so negative 7. The equals 2's under there, so the bar's under there. So I color it in, and then greater than, nose points that way. Okay, and then my last one, I put a 1 in front of the x, dot it, circle it. I've got plus 12, so I'm minus 12, minus 12. 8 minus 12 is negative 4, and then I've got 1 dot x. So as long as that dot number's a 1, we can ignore it, because if I divide something by 1, it's just, you know, the same thing. Okay, this is incorrect ordering at the end. The x needs to come first and then the negative 4. So change the direction the sign goes. And my critical number's negative 4. I circle. The bar's there, so I fill it in, and then nose goes that way. It's like a nose. It's just looking that way. So that's the direction. Okay, pause the video and then do the 5 problems. Okay, and then the next one requires a little bit more thought to it. I'm getting a calculator. Okay, now to truly understand this second packet, we're going to run a little test here, okay? To really understand what's going on, you're going to need to listen to me on this first page. So, 8 and 4, okay? What's bigger, 8 or 4? Okay? 8's bigger. So the sign needs to open up towards the 8, okay? Opening up towards the bigger number. That's how to put a sign in appropriately between the two numbers. Okay, now I'm going to add 2 to each one of these. So 8 plus 2 is 10, and 4 plus 2 is 6. 10's bigger, so it opens up towards 10, okay? Alligator. Now you think, instead of a nose, think of it like a mouth. By the way, the nose always points to the smaller number, okay? Nose, if you're thinking of it as a nose, it points to a smaller number. If you're thinking of it as a mouth, it opens up towards a bigger number. Now, isn't that sign the same as this? Yeah, so there was no change. So when I add a number to each side, the sign doesn't change. Okay, now let's go with these two, back up here, and subtract 2. So 8 subtract 2 is 6. And if I subtract 2 from 4, I get 2. The bigger number's right here. Okay. So, smaller numbers here, the nose should point towards the smaller number. That should open up towards a bigger number. So, the sign's still the same, so no change there. So, what I've been doing is adding or subtracting from both sides, and the sign never changes just because I add or subtract. Okay. The only time we were changing the sign if it ended up in the wrong order. Now take both of these, divide it by 2. So if you divide 8 by 2, that's 4. If you divide 4 by 2, that's 2. Okay. All right. Well, 4 is bigger, 2 is smaller, so the nose points to the smaller number. Okay. Opens up towards the bigger, and again, no change. But now I'm going to divide by -2. So now divide these by, use your calculator if you have to. Okay, so 8 divided by -2 is -4. Now I divide 4 by -2. -2. Now what's bigger? If I have two negatives, the smaller one's bigger, so the bigger number's here. Here's the smaller number. -4 is smaller than -2. Okay. So now the sign goes that way. So did the sign change? I think it did. So there was a change there. And the reason there was a change because you divided by a negative number. Okay. When I divided by the positive, it didn't change. Okay. Now, take both these times 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8. Here's my bigger number. Here's a smaller, so the nose points towards the smaller number, opens up towards the bigger number. And from here to here, it's still the same. Okay, so there was no change. But now I'm going to multiply by -2. So use your calculator to do that, but now you're multiplying it by -2. So -16. Now take 4 times -2, -8. What's bigger? What's smaller? Well, -8's bigger than -16. Okay, when I have two negatives, the smaller the negative, the bigger it is. Okay, so -8's larger, so opens up here, nose points to the smaller number. So what happened from the sign to here to here? I believe it changed, okay? So there was a change. Now, the reason why you had to change is because you multiplied by a negative number. So when I divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, the sign changes. So that's something we're going to have to account for on this assignment here. Okay, right here. And pretty much all this assignment is multiplying and dividing, but sometimes it's a negative, sometimes it's not. I got to look out for that. There's an easy way to do it. Dot your X and circle it. There's nothing outside over here, so we don't need to plus or minus. Now I have a question. Is the number with the dot positive or negative? Looks to me like it's positive, so I keep the sign the same, okay? And now I divide by 2, okay? So the X is on this side, and that's 7. Okay, so 7's the number I'm putting over here. That's correct ordering. So I circle. And do we have the bar? Yep, fill it in. And the nose goes that way, so we go this way. X can be any number as long as it's greater than 7. Okay, now the next one you see a fraction, okay? You are going to put a 1 here. Now, you're going to multiply and divide, cross-multiply and divide. Negative 3 times negative 10 divided by 1. Now, for the sign, whether that's going to change or not, look at the number under the X. Is a number under the X negative? Yes, it is, so we need to change the sign. And I'm going to have X here, because that's where it's at. And then to find what goes over here, we cross multiply and divide. So I multiply negative 3 times negative 10 and divide by 1, okay? And that's 30, okay? And that's the correct order, okay? So that's correct. And here I go. So 30 is the number. So when you have to do the cross multiply divide, you look for the number under the X. If it's negative, the sign goes the opposite way. Okay, is the bar there? No. Okay, it's great. The nose goes the direction of the nose. Okay. Next problem. You don't have a fraction, so dot your X and circle it. Now, is the dotted number a negative? It is. So then the sign will change because I'm dividing by a negative. That cancels, and I have X over here and positive 6 over here. Okay, and that order is correct. Okay. There are some of these problems I will have to change the sign twice. Once for the division for the negative, and then it might be in the wrong order, but so far it hasn't happened that way. Bar's not there, don't fill in the circle, and the nose points that way. Okay, next one. There's no fraction, so I can dot my X and circle it. There's nothing outside of it. We just need to divide, but is a number with the dot a negative? No. So for now, I keep the sign the same. For now, I said. And then I'd go divide. 72 divided by 9 is 8. Okay? And then we're going to have our X. Now, I emphasize it doesn't change for now because at the end, that is incorrect order. So now I need to change it. X and 8, and then the sign changes the other way. And this is going to be the one I graph. So 8 can be equal, so we fill it in. And it nose points that way, so that's the way I go. All right, next one. No fraction involved, okay? So I dot my X and I circle it. Now, nothing outside, but we got to divide by the negative. Now, is the dotted number negative? Yes, so put that sign the other way. And now divide. So X, negative 22 divided by negative 11 is positive 2. Okay, and that's the correct order. So 2 is my critical number. circle the little bars there, so fill it in. And the nose goes that way, so right there. Okay, my next problem. Dot, circle. Is the dotted number negative? Yes, so switch that, okay? And then I divide by negative 12. And I have x over there. And then 60 divided by negative 12 is negative 5. So negative 5 is a number, but that is incorrect order, okay? So the sign will go back again. So x negative 5. Now, I've switched it first because I had a negative in the dot, okay? And then I switched it back because it ended up in the incorrect order. Sometimes you have to switch it twice, okay? The bars there, fill it in. And the nose points that way, okay? Next one. Dot your x. If there's not a fraction, dot that x, circle it. Okay? Now the number with the dot. It's about the number with the dot. I don't care about this. It's a dotted number. Is a number with the dot a negative? No. Keep the sign the same. And then I divide by 4. Okay? So I have x. Negative 90 divided by 4. I got a decimal. That's okay. Negative 22.5. Okay? That's the correct order. So negative 22.5, circle it, bars there, fill it in, and it goes the direction of the nose, okay? Okay, there's a fraction, so get a 1 under that, okay? You're good to go. Now, when you multiply and divide, you got to watch for the negative under the x. I don't care about this. The number under the x is negative, so flip the sign, okay? And then you can just put x. Now to find the number that goes over here, we cross multiply and divide. So I take negative 5 times negative 7 divided by 1 is 35. And that's correct. So 35 is the number, positive 35. The line's there, so fill it in, and then it goes the direction of the nose. Okay, our next problem. There's no fraction there, so I dot the number, circle it. Is the dotted number negative? Yes, that sign changes. Okay, so x, 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. Okay, so that's correct, by the way, correct order. So negative 8, circle. The blind's not there, so leave it empty, and then it looks like a nose. The nose points that way, that's the way it goes. Okay, my next thing, okay, the fractions there, okay? So I want to put the 1 there, and then I know I'm going to multiply and divide, but when I do that, I got to decide the sign might switch, okay? If the number underneath is negative, that sign's going to switch, okay? All right, now I have x. Now to find the other number, you cross multiply and divide. Negative 6 times 7 divided by 1. I got negative 42. And that is correct ordering. So negative 42 is the critical number. The bar's not there, don't fill it in, okay? And it goes in the direction of the nose, okay? Because that's a greater than sign. But if you get greater than or less than confused, think of it as a nose, and the arrow goes the same way. Okay, no fraction involved, so is my dotted number negative? No, it's not. So that sign for now stays the same. Divide by 5, divide by 5, so that's x. 45 divided by 9 is 5 is 9. Okay, so that is again correct ordering. So 9's a critical number. The line's there, fill it in. The nose points that way. Okay. All right, then my final example. No fraction, so I dot it. There's a fraction, don't use a dot. Use cross, multiply, divide. Okay. But is a dotted number negative? Yes, it is. Okay, so flip the sign. Now we divide by -6. -4. And again, that's in the correct order. Okay, as long as the x comes before the number, I have it correct. Okay, and then the nose goes that way. All right, that's all I have to say on that. Hope it's been informative. And remember, if the dotted number is negative, the sign switches. When you cross multiply and divide, if the number under the x is negative, the sign switches. And if you end up out of order, the sign switches.